We are about to add to our Dark Night of the Soul series. You can go to the homepage and look at the playlist where we dive into the Dark Night of the Soul. We've got the Black Sheep Ascension story. We dive into different aspects of you and your journey and what's going on. If you feel like you are currently going through a dark night of the soul, it's okay, I'm here. We're going to dissect it. We're going to dive in together. I don't do these kinds of readings enough, but I just pulled one card and out came the star card. So I thought, okay, that's a card about healing, and it's from one of my edgier decks with a lot of kind of skeletons in the closet with this. So this is screaming one of the Dark Night of the Soul kind of decks. So we're going to go. And straight away, the message today is not only go back and look at the Black Sheep Ascension story, because that's important, but I'm looking at someone who is incredibly independent, clear in their mind about it, and leaving behind this younger mentality that was a little immature, a little toxic, and they are moving towards absolute wish fulfillment and abundance. We're going to dive into the layering of what's got you to this higher vibration now, but we want to reflect in motion. It's not often that when we do Dark Night of the Soul, we get to kind of be on the outro of it. Some of the other readings were heavier windows of space and time where we was more dark and depressive and the cards were heavier. Here, there's gorgeous, powerful information that I want to tell you about, and I want to talk to you in length about what's coming in love and career. But before we do that, there's a judgment call that needs to be made, a story that needs to be told. And it looks really, really important and incredibly transformative because it opens up the can of worms to your life. And if you haven't been awakened yet and you're not conscious of whatever the hell that was over the last 3 weeks, over the last month, over the last 2 years, if you're coming out of a toxic episode, a healing journey that's just been, it could be 2 days. Could be the last 2 hours. Could be the last 4 weeks. Either way, there's been some toxicity and low vibration shrouded around you. Straight away, I want to talk about psychic attack. I want to talk about psychological warfare and spiritual warfare. I want to talk about even when you move yourself away from people and there's no one in your proximity, being alone. I said the other day in a tweet, we are our own worst enemy at times. The way in which our brain will program itself and tell ourselves things, even when we're alone and we're winding down and turning off, it's residue. Today I want to talk about traumatic residue on your chakra, on your soul, on your psyche, on your spirit, on your aura, in your chakras, yeah? Toxic residue from other people. The quote I'm getting in my head is, let the rain fall on my enemies. This comes from Stormzy, and it is attached to one card I have in the deck very specifically. And it's a frog. And the frog is being absolutely soaked and covered in black ink that's just dropping onto it like rain. And this frog wants to leap forward. A leap of faith, a leap into the light. A leap towards something they've dreamed of, something they've been manifesting, something they've built, a career, yeah? Something they see that they want, something they've been manifesting. But there's been a toxic energy. The vision I'm getting in my head is someone who has a flashlight, but the flashlight keeps cutting out. You're in the middle of a forest, it's black out and dark, it's freezing cold, and you're damp, you're already damp and wet. All you have is this flashlight, but every other second you tap the flashlight, it goes off and on and off and on and off. tap, 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 on again, off. You're in the dark, middle of nowhere, barefoot, struggling, cuts and bruises all over your feet and ankles. You can't see where you're going. You don't know what to do. But you're shit in it. And it is dark as fuck and you can't see. You didn't end up there by yourself. Do you hear what I mean? This is a metaphor for what I've just said. You didn't end up there by yourself, but you certainly are now on your own in the fucking dark forest with no torch. Yeah? So it's down to you to find your way out of it. That's what meditation is. That's what healing is. That's what dark night of the soul is. And that's what true trauma is. And that's what doing the inner work is. Only when you... I don't like the idea of forcing a narrative on anyone, and I say this all the time, and I've been saying it a lot this week, and the last few weeks I've been doing these readings. It's been something that keeps coming to my mind the way I speak, because I'm very authoritative, but I don't like the ideology of imprinting my thought or being too dictatory, so I say that honestly and openly, hoping for more transparency in your awareness and in my speech, okay? Because when I say that, I want there to be this awareness of what it means to switch off and step away and be a hermit and go within. But I say that without teaching that as a discipline, understanding only you know the balance between the two, and disassociating from the rest of the world isn't the answer, because you need a healthy balance and a healthy network of people around you. And then I feel like a little bit of a pussy in the same breath, because I'm like, why am I disregarding the truth that is for me, which is there is a point in life and a time that does come where everybody has to go and you have to shut down and be alone with self. And I say that because I know it's a very lonely, difficult journey, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone else. I've been through it. So I guess the moral of today and the dark night of the soul that we share and we really talk about is the darkest journey of all. Kiki Palmer, interestingly enough, you've got to love how the algorithm feeds you stuff. She spoke about, in a really short clip, she spoke about cutting everyone off when they do you wrong. No, get everyone out. There comes a time in your life, depending on what you're doing and where you're at in your career, yeah? It's harder if you're recognised and well-known, coming from a specific community, a figurehead in any kind of regard, whether it's massive and highly influential or not, micro to a degree. It depends. Someone who's really dominant in a friendship group. Do you get what I mean? If you've got a dominant personality, a leader within the team, it works in many different ways. The beacon and... lead in the relationship that you had in your house. Like I'm getting like a roommate, you know. So you live with people in shared accommodation. I'm getting like uni students, like halls. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah. So residents in halls, and you're all there, and you've got those kind of people around you. But whatever's happened, whatever the shift is, and you're popular and you're known and you're comfortable in these communities, but for whatever reason, something's triggered you psychologically, you're going through dark night of the soul, spiritual warfare, and you've removed yourself. Too much popularity, too much press, there's been drama, conflict, you step away from the spotlight. You've been doing promo, you've been doing YouTubes, you've been out there networking, you've been in social circles and community hubs, different events, seminars, webinars, different events, different social communities. But no, I'm pulling away. I'm not going to go back to that group. I'm not going to be present on social media anymore. I'm going to pull back from the light. Those windows of time are for you to assess yourself, and in those windows of time, not a lot of people really know what's going on and what you're going through. And you've got the light people that miss you and want to see you back on the front line and want to see you shine bright, for it helps them shine bright, because role models exist. Role models are incredibly important in every single walk of life. And whether we do or don't want to be role models, we're encouraged to serve as such, naturally, because people look to us as role models in many different settings. That's one of the earliest things we teach in developmental psychology, and in early years. So from the youngest moment that you're born, there is somebody that you imprint on and someone that you look to as a role model, and you evolve that way throughout adulthood. That's why people have a fan base, because people look up to them and they want to be like them. That's why we've got fucking millions of catfish all over the internet and people getting stalked and harassed frequently. That's why we get trolls online. So we're talking about that today. We're talking about Let the Rain Fall on My Enemies, which really brought that up, and then brought up the fact that it was Stormzy's lyrics. So it brought me even more back to the ideology of being an artist, a celebrity, a public figure, someone out there, and what it means to have too much presence online, get attacked online, get dragged through some real bullshit online. The Judgment card is here, right? Which has made me have the rant I've just had. And I want to go in on that now. We're using oracle cards and spirit animal deck and a nice kind of edgy kind of gothic tarot deck as well. Really kind of cute cards. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love when readings sing to me before the cards do. It's like a gift to just like go with your intuition and clairvoyance and just sing and be free, and mastery happens when you let go. And that's why dark nights of the soul are important, and that's why it's important to pull away and find yourself. What I will say is, being an empath and being around a lot of people and doing readings all the time, and having a really busy space where people are coming to me for readings, or I'm doing readings online, sending it to them. I'm networking with people around the world, doing like Zooms and just socializing and being present, and offerings like skill swaps was a window of time as well. Like the stuff that you kind of do online as part of your craft, right? Regardless if it's tarot or spiritual or not, you're giving time and energy to others quite frequently, and you don't know how toxic that can be for you, how limiting that can be for you when you are in the hustle and bustle of just doing and being. I'm making music, I'm on tour, doing promotions, I'm doing the press run, I'm doing all of these different things in the field, but I'm not taking a minute to see that I'm not having more than enough me time. And everyone's screaming your name, and you're the popular one in the room, in the environment, and everyone wants your autograph. Everyone wants to have you speak at their event. Everyone wants you to kind of pull up and do a tarot show, do your magic trick, perform your new track, whatever it is. I'm trying to waver between the different things that we do in life that could be relevant here, because there's loads of tarot readers on the line. Most people that watch this read their own tarot as well and just come here for like extra confirmation sometimes. And the truth of the matter is, there's this independence that you lose when you open up to other people, right? And in that moment, you have to carve out time in your life to heal. You have to go into hermit mode. You have to choose to turn off. At the age of 36, I'm now 37 recently, may I add as well, I've just kind of started to discover my true capacity as a clairvoyant, and how my energy really picks up on the things that are going on really, really close to me, and in what way that's been a hindrance to me growing up. And there's been a lot of shame that I've accrued over the last few years, when I realised what energies I've been carrying that weren't actually mine, the burdens that I carried that weren't actually mine. Whether or not people intentionally projected that onto me, or was aware that that was their burden that I was speaking on, because I was actually embarrassingly mirroring that person with no conscious awareness of the divide between me and them, and that I was so entrenched and so visca-piscaed into their reality that I assumed it was my own energy and depressive episode or downward trend that day. But it wasn't me. It was their energy. But I took it on as my own. Healers, super empaths, that's what we do. We pick up and take. Heal, let's work on that. Oh, I feel really low, energetically heavy today. What is that? The best example I can give you of this, one that I remember really, really well, and that stays with me, and this is a great example of spiritual attack and psychic attack and poor judgment at that. We all planned to go to a special mediumship night at somebody's house. My friend came to pick me up. I was fine. But as we started getting closer to the venue and we had another pickup to go on the way, I started to sink and I started to get depressed and I started to get these waves of suicidal ideation, really unfamiliar to me. Like, it wasn't me trying to be suicidal, but it was just like life had just got it wasn't even a thought process or a suicidal ideation within me, which is very hard to explain upon reflection, but it's this heavy feeling of a lack of purpose, and I felt dead. I felt dead internally, a feeling I never had before. At that point on the way, we've picked up somebody else, another friend. They've got in the car and we're all in the car now. It's jam-packed. I'm aware of energy and the transfer of energy, so I'm just assuming it's the person that's recently just got in the car. It must be them, because I've had other incidents where we've all been out in the restaurant and suddenly I've been hit with a chakra stabbing pain in my heart, and I can tell something's bad happened in the restaurant to someone around here and someone's going through severe heartbreak. So I burst it out, totally autistic as fuck, going, oh my god, someone at this table is going through absolute heartbreak right now. My chakras, I literally just got stabbed in the heart chakra. I am in agony. What the hell? Someone is broken. And then my friend just bursts into tears. It's me. I just got into a massive argument. And then she starts crying at the table and it's someone's birthday. I've shared this story before, but that's what it means to be an empath. And that's what it means to be clear. And that's what it means to be really unawakened and speak on the chakra transmission in motion without being conscious enough to know that it's probably someone in this close proximity to you that's going through shit right now. And that was a friend, a physical friend, who opened up and owned it honestly. In many incidents, and some of the most toxic people I've been around, whether or not they've been conscious that it was them or not, they've let me carry their burden and then looked at me with a passive, smirky, witchy face with glee. Like, they don't really realise that that's actually everything I'm going through. They're projecting, or they're just mirroring me at this time, you know? And it gets a little bit gross even in memory to know that that person was actually so much more spiritually stronger than me. I could tell that they knew I was mirroring them, and that was their power. That was their power play. Yeah, that's when you get gaslighters and narcissistic tendencies, and you get the benevolent and the maleficent. Is that how you say it? I think I'm saying it wrong, but you know what I mean, right? The polarity, the triads of light and dark. The darker personality over there looking like, oh, is that what you're going through? That's really what they're going through. They know what they've done that weekend or the toxic argument they've just had. They're not sharing that, but you're in this energy suddenly and you've got to speak on it. Really, it's their toxicity, but you can't say that now. And who the hell are you to even imply that? That's not a scientifically provable source, is it? But it is a real thing, right? Example with my friend at the restaurant who owned the reality and broke into tears the moment I said that, saying she just in that minute received a text. So the moment I've got a stabbing pain in my heart chakra, she's just read the text and put it back in her pocket and just tried to process the agony that she's in, because now she's in a massive dispute with her lover and she's living and she doesn't want to be at the table. She wants to go home. We're on holiday. She wants to leave. She ends up storming out of the restaurant and floods of tears after what I've said. And then I blow up the whole dinner because it was somebody else's birthday dinner, right? That's an example of that. The issue is, then, that's one example of it being somebody in the physical who I know, but there's other incidents where that's actually a spirit. So when I get to the mediumship event, halfway through the mediumship event, this spirit keeps coming through, and I'm quite still unexperienced with the awareness of spirit. And when they start speaking about the spirit qualities, I wake up in the moment and realize that's exactly what the behaviors I was exhibiting in the car. So a girl at the mediumship event, she starts talking about someone that's passed on, that's close to her, and their mannerisms and what they were going through in their last days and the thoughts that they were having, which was the exact same energy that I was in the car. And by then I'm at the house, I'm fine, I'm back to normal. But in that moment I've screamed and I've gone, my goodness, that's exactly what was happening to me for 20 minutes on the way here. I said, guys, did you see me just in the back seat, shrink down and lie into the corner? I felt sick, like something was really wrong with me, and I was exhibiting all these symptoms. I was feeling all of these symptoms that was related to this person in spirit who had died. And if it wasn't for the medium that was doing the night and called me up and said, let's go, let's open that channel and you work that shit in and out of your chakras, let's open you up and look at that. And then she had a full-on mediumship experience, and I got all these visions and told the person what I was seeing and explained an event and all of this kind of stuff, which was really cool and amazing. But if I didn't have the opportunity to do that, if I didn't have the awareness of that, that would have been a dark night of the soul. And that could have been an energy of a spirit I took home and didn't know was a spirit. And what if that spirit, there's questions about whether or not they can or can't do this. What if that spirit didn't choose to stay with that woman, but followed me home and stayed with me for a week, stayed with me for 2 weeks, stayed with me for a month, stayed with me for a year, and then made me really depressive and made me suicidal? How about that? Because there's spirits all over the place around radicalized terrorists, certain people that are killing people in the United Kingdom, may I add. The man who said, someone told me to do it, someone told me. There's always the people off their rocker saying, someone told me to do it, the voice in my head told me to do it. Well, we're going to need to understand what that voice is. Because clearly you're attached to someone. And unfortunately, the mediums and the psychics who get brushed off and called witches, and everyone hates tarot and it's scary and horrifying. Sorry, guys. Piss your pants, be scared. We've got the answers. Yeah, we're not stupid. We've got the answers. Come and speak to us, guys. Go and research it. Go and read an article. Go to hermitology.me. Let's start learning. Because the cure is in the education, and it's not about running from witches or burning witches at the stake. It's about asking fucking questions. Because these are just cards, pieces of paper that are really out here. Bits of tree with design on it. And everyone's running scared of a simple conversation. Why? Because we're opening up parts of our psyche that we've been encouraged to keep closed. But if I wasn't so sensitive and so at risk of being abused spiritually and psychologically by others who love the dark side, there are people out there that are close to you in life more than likely, because that's how God works, and God's always going to give you an opposer, yin and yang. There's always going to be someone in your proximity that you've got to fight against that is a darker entity, and that thrives when you're in dark night of the soul or weak. When you're depressive and low or confused, some people thrive on inflicting psychological warfare. Some people thrive on inflicting spiritual warfare. Some people love it. Some people benefit from it. Don't be that. Fight against that. Do everything in your power every single day you live and breathe to never be that. That's why we show up and we do spiritual stuff. That's why we go to church. That's why we read the Bible. That's why we go to the temple. That's why we read the scriptures that we do and believe in God and faith in the way in which we do, or apply ourselves in unique ways, because we don't want to become the dark side. Because I have flashbacks of the worst kind from people that I loved and cared about and considered family and friends, that now I look back and the flashes of their face in the moment that I'm in distress, they're thriving. They're in glee. They're happy. I've never seen some of these people more happy than when I'm at my worst. I'm having a breakdown because my life's fucked. And you are lapping it up like it's the greatest thing you've ever seen. God forbid you breathe near me again. Yeah? Let the rain fall on my enemy's place. Remove yourself away from the toxicity and do not be discouraged or broken that at one point in your life you looked at that person as kin, you looked at that person as family, you looked at that person as friend. Just praise the Lord that you are free now. You have every right to move away now. You have every right to say no, and you never have to engage with that human being ever again. You can look crazy and sound crazy, and no one has to believe you. Trust your intuition, trust your chakras, trust your aura, trust the goosebumps, trust the thoughts in your head, trust the memory that you have of their facial expression looking back at you. When you're trying to express the pain inside of you, and there's smugness and gleenness on their face, yet they're meant to be akin. They're meant to love you. Is that what love looks like? Because you seem to be getting off on my demise. You seem to benefit from the destruction surrounding me. My psychological warfare and my spiritual warfare seems to make you flourish. Now we have a problem. And I can only praise the Lord every day that I wake up that I now see. And the only horcrux of this situation is the window of time where when you first see it, oh, you hate it because you're ashamed of you. You're ashamed that you never saw it before, and you start tracing back and going back down the stairs for all the years that you've known this person, and then you start to realise this is a pattern of behaviour. They've done this to me before, and they've done this to me then. Oh, all my life they have done this to me. And sometimes it's worse than just the facial expression and the evil psychological, spiritual, malicious intent, underhanded, passive, snaky, ratty, snitchy, fakey, demonic, low-key, sly motherfucking behaviour they're exhibiting in the last memory you had. We're talking about outright stab you in your fucking chest and smile in your face and walk away. Steal from you on a frequent basis. Take whatever you've got. Take your heart. Take your hat. If this person could pull out your eye sockets and wear it for themselves, they would. Fucking hell, if there's a chance they could pull it out and turn it into a fucking necklace, they would. Put it in a fucking cold brew, they would. Use it as ice cubes. God knows. Some people are fucking twisted. Don't blame yourself for not knowing how twisted some people could be. Because the naivety in you that has brought you all the way to this point is exactly why you are a child of God. What makes you so beautiful and what makes you so loving. Because God forbid you were any less naive than that, because that means you would have been a darker person and exposed to a lot more. I am now 37 and only now do I like really dark demonic movies about possession and stuff and thrillers and murder and really creepy eerie stuff. I couldn't watch any of it before. Up until I was about 33, I couldn't take any of it. Only when 3 of my family members died I was in a dark place, so I was more comfortable with darkness. Before that, I was a 13-year-old skipping around with fairies. That I've always been that. So even at the age of 33, I was still 13. Dancing around to S Club 7 in my mind, you know? So whatever that is for you and whatever that naivety is for you, thank God that was a gift and a safe bubble around you to protect you from the harsh realities of this world, right? And now you've woken up. Everyone around you who was lapping up your failures and shitting on you and gaslighting you have now been exposed for who they really, really are. And now the true journey begins, because it's where you create, build, manifest, and exist from a place of your own choosing entirely. Because nobody in your proximity zone, no one in your circle, no one surrounding you right now has been thrusted upon you or forced upon you. It's now choice. Now you choose. Because when we come up in life for a really, really long window of time, and the 30s, the mid-30s is the zone when you start having kids and getting your own place. It's getting a lot sooner for the newer generation, may I say. The Gen Z are way ahead of the millennials. We are delayed in many ways, right? But the truth of the matter is, we get to that stage where we realise, if you've been doing the work, may I add, some people are non-playable characters and muggles in this shit. They do not move. But obviously, if you're watching this, you're conscious enough to know that you've been ascending, you've been working on spiritual enlightenment, you've been working on healing, you know what dark night of the soul is. It's brought you here, right? You work on self therapy, past life regression, consciousness, meditation. You understand shamanism or different faiths, or the Bhagavad Gita, Allah, Krishna, Ra, the Quran, the Tree of Life, Kabbalah, whatever your belief system is, Tibetan bowls, mindfulness, tarot, clairvoyance, astral projection, past life regression, Brian Weiss, James von Prague, John Zach Cabanas, that's how you say his name. I mean, all the people in the field, consciousness of all kinds here, Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness, scripture, Bible, the Holy Spirit, whatever it is for you, you've journeyed somewhere. You hold some kind of layering of faith and hope, and as a result of that, you start to select people that can journey with you, that treat you right. And it's not about the yes man or the arselet, because that's hard for some of you guys if you're public figures in the domain and you're celebrities and you're recognised, or you're influencers. I mean, celebrities and influencers, same kind of thing now. Once you've got a decent amount of following and you've got that kind of community around you, and you've got like a Patreon of consistent people that come to you all the time, and a network. I've always been on my old social media accounts when I was really pushing for that kind of life that I thought I wanted. Then I had a strong enough network, which was small, maybe like 15 consistent, but it was a consistent network that I could call on for Zooms or lives or tarot or different kind of events. And if I wanted to kind of keep building that community, I could have. And it was really, really small still, but it was still really nourishing, and it was still an ecosystem, right? That was consistent, and that gave me a sense of self, a sense of belonging, something I was creating, right? That was purposeful and meaning to me at the time. Yeah, that's before we decided to take this giant leap of faith and move into the tech field, which is very contradictory to the tarot and mindfulness arena that I was in. I had to leave that life behind and then go on a personal journey through fluidity and non-binary and the binary system and qubit and code, and discover what I was really destined for beyond the matrix, right? As the matrix is picking up momentum. So I had to change my life entirely, and all of us go through that in different ways. There's this thing that I always say when I was doing my influencer stuff, and what I was really worried about for anyone with a niche brand, or anyone doing branding or building a following online. I would always say, are you really, really happy with that? Is this what you want for the next 10? Is this what you want for the next 20? Because what I felt like I always noticed on social media, especially anyone under like maybe 50k, even 500k, 500,000 subs or follows online, I say more so on Instagram, I felt like it was a situation of ghost followers accrue quite quickly if you're not consistent. And once they start turning off from you because you've changed your derivatives, you've changed your direction online, and you're not that kind of way anymore, a lot of people will fall off. And not a lot of them won't unnecessarily follow you. They'll just fall to the background and they won't click like, so they won't be showing up. So you won't be a regular on the algorithm rotation. And then you've got to move in a new direction. So you're sailing the digital waves. And how well you function is on your ability to be consistently you, which is perfect if you are one tiered, one layered, and you just do music and you rap, and that's a rap video, that's it. But if you cook and you dance and you're a comedian, that's great. Comedian, jokes all day on the timeline. Chef, food all day on the timeline. Music artist, music all day on the timeline. Content creator, funky outfits on the train. Every day you produce a new outfit on the train. I never get the train girl out of my head, because I remember my behaviours and what I was doing on social media when I was ethnographically doing all these experiments. And what got me is there was this girl, she's probably got millions now, even more millions. I think she's already at a mil when I kind of saw her. But her whole page is train outfits. She goes on to the train and she either sits there or poses there, and some kind of a magical effect happens, and then she just shifts in clothes or shifts in position. It's like a 30-second reel, but do you know how long it takes to set up that reel and choose that outfit in a public space like a train, to even get the seats that you're getting and get the empty carriage? Do you know how time consuming that is to do every single day? So that's why I say to people all the time, is that something you're willing to do for the rest of your life? Because people are very fickle and the timeline is very rigid. And if you are going to go down this route and build this concept of being the train girl, are you prepared to be the train girl for 20 years? Because there is not much give. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm confused. Tell me the genre's changed. The experiment I'd done was back in 2021. And I've been off in the back end building ever since. But I remember at the peak of it, I'm like, you're going to do that forever? Are you sure? Please tell me you're sure. Because I would rather you not hodl, which is a rare thing for me. Hodl on exploration some more. Hodl on some more R&D a little bit more. Which, hold on to dear life for some more research and development. And that's me. I'm quite rigid, because other people you go down these routes and you build a following and you do it naturally and authentically, and you go up this way and you go through ebbs and flows in your journey, and you see that, and it's beautiful. But there's also this emptiness that I feel. I didn't want to be harsh, but it's this emptiness and longing for something else that isn't in line with what your output is and what you've become accustomed to. And you become accustomed to that certain level of materialism, that certain level of external gratification, and it becomes norm for you to continue to deliver in the circumference of what people want from you. So now you have to feed the population for the population to feed you. And for me, being so monotropic, I do 100 things every second. I'm so neuro. I study monotropism which for me is basically looking through a kaleidoscope in life, because I love to do everything, and I'm multi-talented. Can I say that? Or I'm multifaceted is a nicer way to say that, instead of saying I'm talented, because it's not about talent. I like to try things all the time, different things. I don't like to just do one thing. And my hair is always different. Every single month it's been. I like to change my appearance. I like to try new things. There are people that have had the same hairstyle for 20, 30, 40 years, don't change anything. Yet there's other people who change their hairstyle every week and look totally different every single week. Back in the day, I used to have a different wig every single week. Look like a whole new fucking person. I'm not like that now, but there's these different characteristics we exude. And I was so wary of getting locked into a brand that wasn't really me, which meant I didn't know me and I needed to find me more. But are we allowed to say that? Because everyone gets cussed off when they say, I'm just, I've found myself. And they're like, what do you mean you found yourself? You can't lose yourself. Like the mockery of even going on a journey or identifying as a lost soul and seeking more. This is the only way I can give you an example of this, and I have to use me as an example because this is how it works, right? But I couldn't lock in anymore on building a really, really strong, heavy culture on tarot and mindfulness and Tibetan bowls and namaste, because my life was so shaky and so rough and so radical in regards to the radical self-love I was doing. I was getting more cyber, I was getting more rock chick, I was getting more punky, I was getting more emo, I was getting more edgy. I was breaking away from the tarot, namaste and tree pose and hold, which is still a massive part of me. Now it's something that's a lot more sacred that I don't really share online as much. Now I'm more, in my mind, guitar swinging, coding, psycho quantum alchemist. Where the fuck did that come from, right? That's the evolution of me that I've just allowed to happen naturally because I'm not confined to a specific kind of output online. The main feedback I got quite a lot from influencers online was, one, the pressure to be themselves was often sanctioned by their immediate family and friends in their meso system because they had to uphold a certain image to represent their family or friends or the community they came from. They didn't want to lose street cred or credibility in the communities they came from. But also that they were sick and tired of presenting as a very niche, limited kind of brand online that sold. Because the vegan, health conscious channel is fantastic until that person wants to go and fucking take 10 tequila shots on a night out and let their hair down. And they feel like they need to hold up this pretense of what they do or don't do because most of their following don't drink alcohol. They want to maybe smoke weed, have a cigarette, but they don't want to show that side. So this is hard to say, and this is real awakening to the simple fact of the matter is some people are not who they appear to be online. This is easy for those people who are 100% themselves and are happy to show up online as themselves all the time. But how many people online are actually who they are in real life? And we're not talking catfish. We're talking about the brand, the image, the influence of the persona and what we show up with, because these are professional platforms now. Being an influencer is a job, a full-time job. And some people have signed up to full-time jobs that they cannot stand now. And even worse, because that job is tethered to their whole digital identity. So do we need to pull away and go through dark night of the soul? Yes. Why? Because it allows us to look at ourselves and really assess how aligned are we to the true self. How far away, since I've been in the confinements of everybody else, living up to everybody else's expectation of me and aligning to the social standards of my brand so I can make bank, make bread, earn the money I need to survive. How much of me have I lost during that window of time I've been out in the field cooking publicly with this persona of mine that isn't 100% fucking me? Because now I need to come back and restabilize and balance and find me. And be confident enough with that sense of self and not be ashamed to own that. Because the first step to really ascending is understanding who you've been and where you want to go. My first deepest awakening was in 2016 when I started to realize, God, I'm a really annoying, low vibrational person who is really negative. And I bitch and I moan and I hate a lot of things. And I moan, the way I talk down on people and everything, it's awful. And that's what brought me onto the spiritual journey. I'm not happy in life because all I do is bitch and moan about my job, about my career, I moan all the time. And that is when I started to be conscious of my own behaviors, and that's when I decided to change. 2016. Like 9 years on now. And I'm not that same person. I've broken a lot of really nasty, dirty, toxic habits. like just being a gossip, and not even a gossip, but just negative. I won't say a gossip because that's excessive, but just like being in social circles where everyone's bitching and chatting, that wouldn't bother me to the degree it did as I started to ascend. I'm like, why are you talking about people? Please don't talk about people around me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want negativity. Anyone being negative and saying low vibrational stuff, I don't want it. It brings my aura down. Like, so transforming my mind, learning to be higher vibrational, learning to be more mindful of the stuff that I speak on, learning to be more positive and only surround myself with more positive vibrations, clocking people in a lie, making sure I'm not engaging in gossip, years and years of hard work to remove away from negative conversations or just low vibrational shit, and it takes years. And the moment you go back into these ecosystems, circles and communities, you got to go through that again and then come back and ground yourself again. So if you've gone through a dark night of the soul recently, it's just highlighting that whatever's been in your proximity zone, whatever you've been around, has been of that lower vibration, and you're healing from that. I feel like there's someone who has a young daughter who is righteous and mouthy and real and down to earth, and they're having a new beginning in life, and it's challenging you to have a new beginning in your life, to do right in the ways in which you didn't before. So however some children are indigo children. I feel like I'm talking to someone who's got a really powerful indigo child. So maybe someone's child is clairvoyant, maybe someone's got a gifted daughter. Your daughter could be a fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Yeah, that's what I see here. And either way, this child is incredibly gifted, and they keep coming up with some really, really amazing stuff, and it's triggering the truth in this parent to look at their life. And when it says rain fall on my enemies, this child, some people have like angelic children who are just blessings in their life, who come in, like some children are more mature than the parent sometimes. You ever see that child that's just so much more advanced than the parent, and the child bosses their parent around, and they let it. They let the child be the lead in the house, you know? I was quite like that as a child. I was quite dominating and bossy and always adulting myself into situations I didn't need to, but I was always allowed to. That helped me progress to where I am at today, because I always had that dominant, leading way of existing, because my mum let me just be the parent in the house. I parented my mother, you know? So it's quite nice. But also there's this downside to that, because then you get too big for your boots in environments that you shouldn't, you can't fill the boots. And then you get knocked down a peg or two and feel really shitty when you realise you can't use that same tactic you did at home, where you have free reign to be in charge in other social settings, you know. So it's give and take, but we all have to learn and go through these experiences. But the wish fulfillment here is in you understanding that. Understanding, if you do have children or anyone dependent on you, how you love and treat them, how you're transforming and evolving, and how you're breaking free of what this curse really is. Because there has been a business endeavor, a big business deal, and true love for you, and kids, and marriage, and so much more nourishment in a relationship that has been prevented or blocked because you haven't been able to really align your lizard brain, your reptilian brain, with your emotional center point, your whirlpool of emotions. The mastery in you now, after this cycle of dark night of the soul that you've just been through, is identifying to me that you are about to take your reptilian brain into a emotional whirlpool that is normally risky for anyone, but you are incredibly experienced, and this is the only way for you to go now. This is where you come into alignment. This is the insurgence. This is you choosing. You've seen Insurgent, the movie, Divergent, Insurgent, Alien Urgent, with Triss, when she chooses her faction and she leaves, is it Amnesty? I can't remember. Whatever faction she started, and she leaves that and she heads over to the other group, which is kind of the edgy group. See, that I relate to that. I relate to that personally with leaving the group where you don't really look in the mirror and you do charity all day, you know, from the shaman tree hugging community. We walk off and leave, and now I'm in cyber, you know. And you can't really look back at your old community. You feel like it's sin, but you know that that's still a big part of who you are. But now you're running around the streets in black with your super lightsaber guns, fighting crime, you know, bringing down the fucking corrupt. I mean, it feels like that. We're going to say less of that because I'm pretty sure the agents are listening. But not to get skewed with AR and VR and meta realities. Calm down, people. My lord, the dystopian realities on offline are way too close to the line to even speak at this point. But it is about understanding the roles that we all play in this new world as well, and in Industry 4. And I just want to, I feel like I want to do an honours speech, an acceptance speech. So I guess this is what I've been doing this week, which is nice. Put your winning speech in the comments, your acceptance speech. You've accepted this dark night of the soul over the last few weeks, and as a result, you're coming out on top with a new business idea and endeavour that you're going to move on, and it's emotional and it's reptilian, and it brings love into your life for the rest of your life as well, and it's everything you ever want. The rain has already fallen on your enemies, everyone else is gone. You choose who you let into your circumference and you don't, and you're locking it down. Fuck all these demonic demons. Psychological warfare is not a joke. Spiritual warfare is not a joke. You've seen the true faces of these motherfuckers, because when it really mattered, their mask slipped. And when you was in a weak, vulnerable state and you showed your true colours, they showed theirs. And I'm pretty sure your true colours weren't beautiful either. Mine weren't when I went through it. But I was honest and integrate enough to pull off my mask and show them who I wasn't the worst of me, and let them know exactly what I was going through. Because I was going through it and I owned it. Whether or not others wanted to own what they were going through and what they were really feeling and how they really felt about what I was saying or doing at the time, it comes down to that truth, respect, honour, integrity, emotional intelligence, and desire and love to really care about that person and present with authenticity when it was really needed most. And that's not what presented. What presented was psychological warfare and underhanded manipulation, lies, deceit, and spiritual desires for spiritual warfare, and glee and pleasure in my downfall. Now that I see it, I can't unsee it, so I can't see you again, period. And that's how it has to be, because that's how God works, that's how life works, and that's how we ascend in the right direction, and there is no shame in that. And the moment that we learn that the power is in letting go from anyone that exudes those disgusting vibrations that destroy your internal self that you need to function every day, and you can forgive yourself for that, and you're still working through dark night of the soul because of the revelation of that, doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you smart. And it makes you chosen, because you chose yourself above a deceptive reality. Because that's cipher right there, waiting to kill you, secretly eating steak behind your back, setting you up with the agents. Fuck that motherfucker. Let the rain fall on my enemies, please. So the ending with that is the honours speech. What is your honours speech? Because I am grateful today, and I have gratitude in my heart, that after all of these years of giving and being me, in all of its beautiful and ugliest ways of existing over the last decade, and more than that, in every encounter and walk in life that I ever had, I am honoured that I presented as me. As awkward and embarrassing and shameful and humiliating and low vibrational and weak and uneducated and wrong. And all the other things, at least I presented as me. At least I was honest. At least I wore my heart on my sleeve. At least I told the truth. At least I tried to make amends. At least I never held back. At least I didn't give up. At least I gave everyone the benefit of the doubt, more than enough to stab me multiple times in the front and the back. And now I know for sure that when I move forward from this day on, that although it still hurts, at least I know. And all of those stab wounds and all of the pain and all the trauma would happen again if I didn't go through that. Because there's this Horcrux that's playing in my mind now as I try and end this with you guys. And it's like, I always go back to the ideology of, what if I stopped them sooner? What if I only let them stab me 5 times instead of 10? I could have saved myself the burden and trauma and pain of all this shit. Why did I let that go on for so long? Why did I let that abuse go on for so long? Why did I let them get away with all that lying for so long? How could I let them steal from me for so long? How could I let them do that to me for so long? How could I let this happen? How? Blame self, blame self, blame self, blame self. It's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault. I'm so ashamed. I can't even acknowledge and speak in depth about what's happened because I'm so ashamed that I've let this happen. And it's that victimhood narrative that nobody wants to carry because no one wants to be a victim here. No one wants to own the humiliation is in the owning of what's really happened and what you were unaware of at the time. And how embarrassing it must have been. Or how embarrassing it feels to know how much they were embarrassing you, laughing behind your back. I don't want to go into it. There's this trauma bell in my mind as well that's going, oh, the thought of it. Oh, the thought of... Every time you look back and you're like, I can't believe I got played this way. I can't believe I believed in you. I can't believe all of this, the lies, the snakery. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. How could I be so naive? How could I be so stupid? How did I not see? How did I let this happen? What on earth? This has been going on for so long. How stupid am I? How stupid am I? You know? And it's that cycle of beating yourself up again and again. That has to go. That has to be dropped. That has to be something you put down. Because it's those 10 swords from the 10 of swords that you've then got to pull out your back. That's the dark night of the soul. You're taking the time to pull out the swords out of your back. And still then they've got a wound. They've got a heal. They're all wounds. 10 wounds you've got. Some of those wounds take years to heal. If the cut's really, really deep. You could rip the stitches at any given moment. Do you get what I mean? This is psychological warfare here. Spiritual warfare. That's infringed on your spirit, your hope, your happiness, your joy. So give yourself grace. Yeah? Give yourself time. And just be grateful that you survived that injury. And now you know, I am grateful and I am honoured that I have been able to withstand the level of psychological warfare and spiritual warfare that I have, because it has made me so strong and build up such a strong shield of resilience and such incredible armour now. And now as I know exactly what kind of armour I need to wear each and every day to make sure that never happens to me again. And if I didn't go through the battering that I did, my armour wouldn't be as strong. So one way or another, this was fated and this was destined. I needed this many attempts to destroy me for me to realise what I needed to prevent destruction. So the future is bright for me because now I've prevented any more wounds and injuries. Yeah, it's like experiments and explosions. I love Rick and Morty. So every time Rick blows up the shuttle, he has to build a new one. Then it blows up again, then it blows up again, then he gets trapped in this portal, this dimension, this speed force, this planet, this world, whatever. Eventually, the experiment is going to go right, and we're going to create the right temperature, proximity, and energy needed to beam in and out at the right place and time without slicing our bodies in half, is the point. We've got to keep experimenting. This is the journey called life. And there are really shitty experiences that we have within it. And I can only hope that we make it through. This also makes me think about Lola Young, is that her name? The beautiful singer who recently collapsed on stage. We'll leave with her because I always kind of use influencers and artists like that as a prime example of why human flourishing and ecological well-being is so important. She's only been famous for a short window of time. She's been thrust into the spotlight after going viral with one of her biggest songs, which is now also being sued by one of her producers, who is claiming, or she's suing him because he's claiming he wrote the lyrics, which she's saying isn't true. She's been kind of just battling with self and identity and where she's going, and she's amazing at what she does. But to collapse on stage in the way in which she did was just really devastating to see. And it just shows how much more kind of support that people in the spotlight need, especially people thrusted into stardom and building a brand and an image, and how hard it can be. And the people that you come up with, I'm sure she was never expecting the producer, who was kind of like a friend to her, who's also a well-known producer and worked with many other artists, to be claiming that he wrote the songs and leaning in on some of her tracks now. And that's fractured that relationship, and whether or not it turns out in his favour or her favour, she's going to have to take some L's and be wounded by that, because that person clearly is now taking full advantage of the success of that and could be making a lot more money than she anticipated they would, if they can prove that they've had alignment and affiliation to the lyrics that were created. You know, and it's not opportunist, but it's people's underhanded tactics and psychological warfare and spiritual warfare, because this person seems well experienced, and I don't know enough of the background, but in my mind I go a little bit like, this person's gone, well, I've written other people's tracks and I've done music in other ways, and actually you just chill and relax, and you like this lyric, this flow's good, you know, someone knows how to just weasel in a little bit to get credits when they need to. So the potential is that this person, if they were experienced enough and she was under experienced enough, he could just weasel in and get credits off a lot of her shit, and now have rights over her intellectual property, and whatever money she's made off that so far will have to then be paid to him, and for the rest of her life he could be getting royalties off that song as well. It's shit like that just fucks you over, and I'm pretty sure she's going through dark night of the soul in her own way, because she's had to cancel all of her tours, and now she's going through massive legal with someone that she thought she was safe to work with, you know. So it's another example of being fucked over by the people that you let into your life, and that's why we go into hermit mode, clamp down, protect ourselves, and reassess. Prevent any more damage to our human vessel. Love and light, guys. Hope you found healing with that. Please put your honest speech in the comments. Let me know what exactly you achieved in this dark night of the soul cycle. Love and light.